What's up, everybody? So today I have on my aviators. The reason why I have them on because I normally wear glasses like 90% of the time. So I have my contacts on today, so I wanted to kind of show them off a little bit. But okay, enough of that. Let's get into the real reason for the video. So this is part 2 of the Saitek Realsim gear setup. And what I want to do is just kind of give you the essentials of a real-world pilot who wants to get into simulation, or a person who's not into flying yet but wants to get the basics of what they need to start learning flight simulation or start learning how to fly a plane. So my 4 things are: 1, a yoke. Everybody needs a yoke. I pretty much don't care what company you go with, just get some type of yoke. Yes, there are some companies that have better quality than others, but what you want to get is just the experience of learning how to put left and right input in. I mean, we can go all day about who has the best quality, but right now we just want you to get the coordination down on putting in the left and right input. Now, pitching the plane. But so now we have the second thing that I want to recommend, and that's your rudder pedals. Your rudder pedals are going to allow you to get coordinated flight with your flight simulation. So putting in your left aileron and putting in your left rudder, or crosswind landings where you're putting in the right input for your crosswind landings, or just getting your coordinated flight in altogether. Slipping the plane, just anything, just you can do that with the simulator and you can practice that. So that's going to give you your rudder inputs. Even taxiing and taking off, you'll learn how to give that more right rudder on takeoff, because the plane is going to start veering to the left. So that's going to give you that simulation. The third thing that I'm going to recommend is a radio panel. With Saitek, they allow you to, it's pretty much almost like a 10-in-1. It allows you to get VOR1, COM1, COM2, VOR2, your ADF, your DMEs, your transponder. All of that is inside that one radio panel. The fourth thing that I would get would be some type of throttle. It could be the TPM or quadrant, but first what I would recommend is just the basic Saitek quadrant or a quadrant. Reason being, you don't want to try to go into sim and try to mess around with opening up the throttle or changing the mix with the mouse. So when you get a yoke, excuse me, you will normally get, or pretty much get a combo where you get the yoke and the quadrant. Now, if you're going to be doing multi-engine training, then I would get 2. But for right now, most people are going to be basic and they're going to be flying a single engine. So one single throttle quadrant would do you fine. So that's the 4 essentials that I would recommend to get you started. If you're a real pilot or a student pilot in training, trying to get your basics down on a simulator, those are the 4 things: a yoke, rudder pedal, 1 radio panel, and a throttle quadrant. So from there, now we can kind of build on what should I get next, and that's really a toss-up on what you want to get next. But the next thing that I would get, or point number 5, I would get a switch panel. Reason why I would get a switch panel is now you can simulate turning the mags on, turning the master on, going through your landing checklist, your gas, turn on the fuel pump, your lights, turn on the landing lights or the position lights, doing your mix, pitch, and checking your switches. So, and that's called your glumps in a real world situations. So next thing I would get is your switch panel. These are not hard to come by and they're not very expensive. Honestly, I think they're probably the cheapest out of this whole sim setup and the easiest to find. And from there, again, this goes back to really what you want to simulate. But the next thing I would do, I would get a second radio panel, only because I'm not trying to turn a knob. I'm trying to lessen the amount of turns I have to do with the radio panel, so I can just kind of set it and forget it on VOR1 or VOR2 or COM1, COM2, I can just set it and forget it, and that'll be my primary source for that radio, or this would be my, in this simulation, is my transponder. So that would be my next step. And then from there, depending on if you're doing VFR or your IFR training, if you're doing instrument training, I would try to look into a 6-pack. Only reason why I would do that is because I'm a really tactile person, and touching the knobs and turning the VOR and turning the heading bug, that's very essential to simulating real life flying, because you're going to be intercepting radios, and you want to be turning that radio into the VOR, or you're going to be getting a call from ATC and they're saying, hey, turn to heading 330. So you want to go ahead and bug 330. Or you're coming in the land and you want to bug where the wind's coming from. Say you're landing on runway 27 and the wind's coming from 30. So you bug 30. That way you come in the land, you know the wind is coming to your right. Little small tidbits like that helps you, and that's hard to simulate quickly with a mouse. Okay, so what I'm trying to get you all to understand is that we're trying to limit the amount of work you do with the mouse into the simulator. Okay, so next thing I would do, me personally, I would think about what type of plane you're flying, and from there, if you're flying a Cessna, the next thing I would do is probably a TPM. If you're flying like a Warrior, then a throttle quadrant will do you just fine. So the next thing I would probably get is a TPM. These are harder to come by from Saitek, but there are other companies that make the TPMs. But this definitely simulates your throttle pitch mixture scenario. And then the car peak, I wouldn't worry about that. That's easy to kind of simulate. The next thing that I would go into is the trim. Reason why I would do trim is not very important as far as a simulator, because you can kind of pan down and trim out the plane, but it's important to learn to use a trim in a real plane. So I would probably put this on number 6 or 7 on my list, because learning how to trim in a simulator, which is, to me, I find harder to trim in a simulator. If you can learn to trim in a simulator, trimming in real life is going to be a piece of cake. I'm dead serious. So I would probably put this on number 6 or 7 on my list. Only reason why I put it up so high and not putting it like number 5 is because they're hard. The Saitek is at least harder to find. You're not going to find them readily available anywhere, and if you do, they're not going to be cheap. Originally they were like, I think $59 when Saitek was making them, but now they're going for way more than that. So being on a budget, this kind of eats in your budget unless you can just find one for a good price. But this is very important. So that's my next thing that I would upgrade. From there, with the instrument rating, the next thing that I saw very important to my training was getting a real 430 or 530. Now you have two options with that. You can either get something like the Realsim gear and incorporate Reality XP, or you can utilize the simulator's Garmin 430 or 530. But there's a catch to that. The X-Plane simulator or FSX simulators, Garmin does not have full menus for the G430 or the 530. So again, you go back to two options. Either you can use the sim, and if you do that, I would upgrade to Reality XP. And Reality XP will give you the full menu options for the in-sim flight training. If you want to go with the Garmin 430, now it still kind of puts you back to the default pages that come with the simulator. But if you want to simulate a full Garmin 430, again, Reality XP is going to be your breadwinner. The only thing that the Garmin 430 is going to simulate is going to give you that tactile feel. Be able to click on buttons, push buttons, turn knobs, create flight plans, create procedures or tune in procedures, that's a lot harder in the simulator with a mouse. So again, I'm trying to take away that mouse and allow you to use everything that you would use inside a plane. So this would be my pretty much last stop as far as simulators, because most planes now have a Garmin 430 or 530, so if you learn one of these two, you're going to be able to fly most of the Garmin setups. I'm not the Addon, I'm not familiar with Addon, so I can't speak on that, but at least with the Garmin, this will get you pretty fluent in most of the Garmin series, at least the 430, 530, I believe it's the 650, and it kind of gets you similar to all of that, or get you understanding the menu options and the button controls. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell of how I would upgrade from, say, 1 to 10 on a simulator. Now, I did upgrade to the FSX Dual, and the only reason why I added that is because I wanted to simulate using a real-life headset, simulate not being able to really hear ATC well. I wanted to be able to simulate kind of tuning out my kids in the background and focusing just on simulators, the simulator, and being able to incorporate pretty much like a passenger in the sim. So that way, if somebody wanted to come over and get some training in and also utilize the headset, we can do that. So this here, I wouldn't ever get, because unless you just wanted to, because you can still get a regular computer headset. You can add on a sound blaster sound card. This is really not needed. This just gives you the extra things like master control, the squelch that you would get in a real plane. So I want to simulate that. So again, in a nutshell, that's pretty much it for my simulator. A few things that are rare that you're going to have a hard time finding with Saitek is going to be the trim wheel, the TPM, and the backlit instrument panel. The reason why I didn't reference this at all as far as the simulator is because this is not needed at all. I mean, you don't need this whatsoever. Reason why I got this is because I got a good deal on it and I wanted it. If I couldn't find a good deal on it, I wouldn't have purchased it. It's not needed. It's just kind of almost like eye candy. It's really not going to do anything for you if you're trying to learn, if you're a real pilot trying to learn how to fly the plane. You don't need this. As far as, I guess I could touch on the multi-panel. The multi-panel will probably be one of the last things I get to. Reason for that is because using Autopilot is not a necessity. The one necessity is learning how to fly the plane, being proficient in learning how to fly the plane. Autopilot can kind of give you a crutch and not have you learn how to fly the plane. So this is probably one of the last things I get to. The only thing that you can get on this that you would benefit from is electronic flaps. Other than that, I would probably put that on my last list. The multi-panel and the bip would probably be on my last list, even after getting the Garmin 430s. From there, again, you have to sit down and say, what am I trying to get out of simulation? There are gonna be a lot of people that try to draw a black cloud over simulators and how they really don't help you with real life training, and they actually do. It saves you a lot of money when you get in a plane. You've gone through the motions, you've gone through your emergency procedures, you've gone through your landing checklist, you go through everything. And with I guess with my recommendations, again, these are mine. You don't have to take it with a grain of salt, but this is what I recommend, and I'm just trying to take out as much as you can the keyboard and the mouse. Because once you take out the keyboard and the mouse, you're actually fully simulating the flight simulation for real life training. From there, the only other thing that I would do, and this would probably be from day one, even as a VFR pilot, so I would probably put this at number 5, is investing in Pilot Edge. And Pilot Edge can give you a real life ATC, and I mean real life at Class D airports, Class Charlie, Class Bravo, so you can really incorporate that. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, as I mentioned in part 1, this setup looks pretty stout, but it's not. I have built this over the last 12 years, and I had a budget of what I wanted to spend. If I purchased this all new, yes, it would be expensive and it would break the bank. But I sat back and waited for deals that I personally could afford, and I felt that I felt comfortable paying. Outside of that, as far as your computer build, a lot of people get into, hey, I need 3 screens, or hey, I need a panel to put this all on. You don't need that. I started off with a 17-inch, I upgraded to a 19-inch, and then I went to a 21-inch, and then a 24, and now I have, I think this is a 34-inch monitor. Again, all of that is eye candy. You don't need it. 17-inch monitor is gonna do you just fine. Yes, it's gonna lower the real estate in your point of view, but you're still gonna be able to learn how to fly with a 17-inch monitor. Other than that, building the other necessity is probably building a good computer that's going to fly the simulator with at least 30 frames per second, at least. I had a computer that would run FSX just fine, but once I upgraded to X-Plane 11, it kind of choked, so I had to upgrade. Now, there's other areas to upgrade as far as how you want to upgrade your computer. And I won't go into detail on what I upgraded on my computer, but I will put it in the description of my full computer setup and how I run it. I can easily get about 50 frames per second on that, at pretty much high on everything within X-Plane. But this is pretty much it. This is my setup. I don't look to upgrade anytime soon. I do want to upgrade to a G1000, but it has G1000 money with it. It costs an arm and a leg, but it would save me a lot of money and flight time. But my next upgrade would be a G1000 from Realsim gear. And I'm not currently flying a plane that utilizes G1000, so I'm not going to buy it. So my thing is functionality, functionality, functionality. So if you're not getting the functionality out of it, you don't need it. So this is my flight sim setup. Everything is pretty much Saitek and Realsim gear. Other than that, if you have any questions, give me a comment below. I would happily try to steer you in the right direction. If I don't know, I'll definitely try to look it up and help you. I have a lot of links and URLs I can share. So again, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm going to get my aviators back on and try to enjoy a flight out in this nice day. I'll see you next time.